Hello and welcome to the DweltOggy Show, a show in desperate need of a rebrand. We're back, baby, and I'd say it was new and improved, but let's not lie, it's still the last-minute hot mess we've always been, but with a 5-month gap. Really? 5 months? Damn, I really let that go. All in the name of making a backlog, except I didn't. Oh well, back to the old schedule. We can call this Season 2 if we want. Anyway, enough moaning because I've got a show for you today. If there's anything I'd love, it's an incredibly rich billionaire dressed as a bat beating the poor and defenceless. Unless the defences their mums are called Martha.
What does that mean? Why did you say that name?
When it comes to superheroes, there hasn't been another that has truly captured my imagination nearly as much as the Batman. So, when it comes to video games, it's hardly surprising that the Arkham games are amongst my favourites. Go watch our top games of all time on youtube.com/bluntlemons, #plug. But they also have their fair share of the ridiculous, dubious, and hopefully funny. Also, at the end of the day, sometimes I just want to play games I love, and after Tomb Raider, I'm very wary of marathoning games series I actually despise. So, what's the thing everyone knows about Batman? Okay, none of those things. It's the strict no-kill rule.
Of course!
Unless you're 50% of the movie Batmans, and I mean they kill a lot of people. No matter what you've done, Batman will never kill you. Well, this carries over to the Arkhamverse as well, but much like in Batman Begins, Batman may not kill you, but you sure as hell will take action that will ultimately lead to your death. Deaths include, and are not limited to, being left unconscious in the snow until you die of hypothermia, being hit by a car at hundreds of kilometers per hour, dropped into toxic gas, beaten to death by a super roided out Titan soldier, blown up, possibly stabbed by a giant plant, possibly killed by your mobster boss because Batman just doesn't give a shit.
I'll have to cut that tongue out of your head, boy. I don't know people telling tales on me.
And let's not forget the dangers of being left to hang upside down for hours on end without supervision. Not only would Batman kill you through sheer negligence, but he also doesn't care if he puts you in a wheelchair for life. Sorry, Oracle. The moves he's pulling on some of these criminals can only assure that they won't ever walk again. Let's not even think of the psychological damage that Batman does to his victims. Think of the emotional trauma of being hunted by a crazy man dressed as a bat would do. Batman won't kill you himself, but he sure as hell will destroy your life or possibility of living a normal life or being employed ever again. Or in the case of Arkham Knight, he will just run you over and kill you in that Batmobile. I know they try to explain this away with some sort of electric field that pushes you away, but I'm still hitting them with a tank. I can even roll them over when they're unconscious afterwards. They are dead, Rocksteady. They're just dying from that. I guess most of this is just negligence on Batman's behalf. At least Superman wouldn't leave you to freeze to death in a snowstorm. He'd just snap your neck instead. Well, no wonder Batman gets a little forgetful over the events of the game. Each game, which, my 20+ hour experiences I might add, take place over the time span of just one night. And I get tired just writing scripts. In Arkham Origins alone, Batman stops a prison riot, infiltrates a whole ship, battles like 8 assassins including Bane and the Joker and Firefly, stops a bridge exploding, solves like 10 murders, stops a terrorist, breaks into the police department 3 times, I might add, stops a second prison riot, battles his way through a hotel turned death trap, collects like 100 data packages, fights Lady Shiva's assassins, rescues Black Mask, and still has time to stop random crimes in the city. All in one night. In Arkham Knight, he literally wages war on a whole paramilitary group, the Scarecrow, his own sanity, and pretty much every villain in his rogues gallery. Again, on one night. In one solitary, at most, 12-hour period. He never gets tired. He never fatigues. Not only that, by the laws of time and space, I'm not sure it's possible to fit that many things into one night. It's also definitely one night, as none of the games even hint at the night getting light at all, or even suggest that any time has passed. It's possible it's eternal night in Gotham City, there's definitely something up with that ginormous moon, or that the city is actually in the Arctic Circle, where nights last 6 months at a time, but unless Batman can time travel like the Flash, he ain't getting that much activity into one night. Speaking of statistically unlikely things, Gotham's crime rate really doesn't add up. In all open-world versions of these games, a convenient excuse is given for the empty streets of Gotham City. However, no matter the natural storm, curfew, or terrorist threat, Gotham has a never-ending supply of thugs to take over. It's truly astonishing how many criminals are willing to venture out in a snowstorm just to stand on street corners. In Arkham Origins specifically, the reason given for the empty streets is particularly wobbly. There's a storm, and people should stay at home, so says the radios at any rate. So none of these people on the streets are actually really committing a crime, or at worst, they're breaking a curfew. Batman gives no shits, he will swoop down and beat everything that moves into a pub. As it's Christmas Eve, I love to imagine that some innocent carolers got caught up in Batman's quest for justice. However, that's not really the point. In a city with what is essentially a team of highly trained ninja with only one mission to eradicate crime, and most of them have been on the job for at least 5 years as well, who patrol the city on a nightly basis, seeking out criminals, how does this city still have crime? How does crime exist? There must be a criminal for every upstanding citizen in this city. In Arkham City, they can fill a whole section of the city with thousands of criminals. In Arkham Knight, literally thousands of them, accompanied by conveniently unmanned tanks as well, that's true, take over the whole city in just one night. This isn't a riot either. They say only hardened criminals have stayed.
Scum. Criminals. And worse.
With at least 2 max security prisons as well as an elaborate prison at the police department and another detention centre at police HQ, how on earth are this many criminals roaming the streets? It's not even like the police department is under-equipped as well. No, something is truly wrong with this city. There shouldn't be this many criminals in one city. It's not even super criminals that bother me in any way. Their numbers seem almost normal compared to the hordes of lesser thugs that crowd to the streets every time a mild disaster happens to Gotham City. Well, I say mild disaster, some of them aren't mild. Someone needs to take a look at whatever underlying socio-economic reason has driven literally thousands of Gotham citizens to a life of crime. Bruce Wayne needs to invest in Gotham City-based charities or rehabilitation programs, or something, instead of building a $1 billion tank to kill them instead. Okay, let's change pace and talk about game mechanics for once. More specifically, the boss fights. More like complain, really. Well, they're a bit toss mostly. In Arkham Asylum, they were pretty much all the same. Big guy who runs at you until you throw a batarang at his head and then he runs into a wall. Then you punch him. Rinse and repeat. There were 2 notable standouts, Poison Ivy, which was, well, let's just put it different. And then this shit.
What are you doing? When I get out of this...
Who at Rocksteady thought this was a fitting end to the game? That aside, the series got better going into Arkham City with some notable standouts including Mr. Freeze and Clayface, and then there's the Ra's al Ghul fight. I'm not entirely sure how this makes sense. Is Batman just wailing around while the real Ra's watches? Or is Ra's al Ghul in 100 places at once? I don't really know. I don't know how any of this makes any sense. Arkham Knight, though, just doesn't really have a boss fight at all. And when you do, they're generally Batmobile related, and we all know how annoying that is. Truthfully, really I don't have much of a point in bashing these boss fights, other than I want to have a neat segue into the next section, which I feel is necessary in an Arkham video made by me, and this just gives me a nice vector into praising Arkham Origins. Hey, do you know what handles boss fights really well? Well, it's Arkham Origins, don't you know? By golly, that was a good segue.
Holy showcase!
No, but seriously, this is where the ugly duckling of the Arkham series really shows its quality. Every boss fight uses the features of the series to the fullest. Deathstroke shows off the attack-counter-attack nature of combat off super well. Bane shows the combo and stun aspect of combat. Firefly shows the game's quickfire gadgets. Each battle reminds me of the Mr. Freeze battle from Arkham City, showing up a part of the gameplay as the main star of the fight. Not only that, the boss fights show a grand spectacle that was missing from some of the earlier games. On top of that, Arkham Origins tells one of the better stories the Arkham series has to offer. A truly stellar story of the relationship between the Joker and Batman, while also providing a cool new origin story for the Arkham Joker as well. As well as being a good Arkham game at its core, this game specifically of all the Arkham games gets a lot of hate for, as far as I can tell, being made by another studio. It's even left out of the definitive remastered collection. It's true that some aspects feel slightly lesser in quality compared to the mainline Arkham games. Combat feels a little spongier, and the Riddler activities were standouts. But the game is a solid, if not spectacular, Arkham game with some of the best boss fights and story the series has to offer. Not deserving of the hate it so regularly receives. So that's it. I'm out of stuff to talk about, really. In the end, the games have some silly stuff that comes with them, but ultimately crafted a truly authentic Batman experience for the most part. It was the first time a superhero game truly hit the mark and had the AAA quality it deserved. For the games to work, many of the silly nitpicks had to be there. For example, without the endless thugs, there would be no gameplay, really. The Batmobile truly was awful, though. Well, that was that. I hope it was fun, or at least mildly entertaining for you guys. Remember to catch the DweltOggy Show in 2 weeks' time, at the same bat time, same bat channel. And for our outro, we'll have a dancing 1960s Batman, I think. Or something 1960s Batman related, who knows.
You shake a pretty mean cake, Batman.